All right, well, welcome everyone. This is Jake, Navy veteran and CEO of Localvest, and I want to thank you for joining us for today's event, which is our quick pitch event for December. So a warm welcome to all of you who are joining the event for the first time. Localvest is a marketplace where we're linking investors and veteran entrepreneurs and connecting them to make America's fastest growing companies. We are veterans and founders ourselves, and we are on a mission to build the largest community of veterans investing and supporting veteran entrepreneurs. And we're doing that because we believe that the sense of duty, grit, and determination that we had serving our country carries over into the business world. So every company you see on our platform, both those that are speaking today and a lot more that you see on the platform, are led by one or more veterans or military spouses. And we make connections by hosting events like this one, share the opportunities with thousands in our growing network. So we also help market on digital platforms like social media to expand the reach to even more investors. And in the background, we have tools that can help you track and engage with potential investors more efficiently. So here are my calls to action to all of you. So if you're an investor, especially an accredited investor for the deals that you're going to see today, sign up for the platform. It is free. You'll see even more active deals on there, and you'll be the first to hear about new ones as they come up, which happens every week. For those of you who are raising equity capital, reach out to us and we can talk about how we can help you get more leads from people who understand you. So that could be funds or real estate syndications who want to make their first move into ads on social media. We have a system that can generate leads that way, nurture them, and deliver them as scheduled calls right into your calendar. I know that sounds a little bit too good to be true, but it can happen. And also on the early stage startup companies, be able to have opportunities like this one to be able to come in and present. So reach out if you have questions on that, and I can explain how. And if there's any other way that you think you can help out with our mission to connect investors and veteran-led companies, reach out and let's talk. Find us a good way that we can bring you, your company, your initiative into the Localvest network. So today we have 4 companies that are going to give a quick pitch today. I'm not going to be asking questions. They're going to present their opportunities. Just the pitch is what you're going to hear. We will have an opportunity afterwards, if you like what you see, to go through to be able to connect with those who need a formal introduction. You can go on the site and you can always follow the deal as well if you just want to keep updated with what's going on. You can do that through the deal tile. We'll be sending you those links later. Again, we're a marketplace for veteran-led investments. Just so you know, we're not vetting the deals. You don't invest through us. This is all about making that connection. So if you like what you hear with one of the companies, you can reach out to them and you take it from there. This is a Zoom webinar, which means you can see us, but we cannot see or hear you. The chat, however, is live. If you have a question, I recommend you put it in the Q&A chat because we can actually talk back and forth that way from panelists to those of you who are at home at the office. If we don't answer your question, don't worry, it stamps it with who asked the question. And if you ask a particular question or it needs some more depth to come from one of the panelists, they'll be able to give that information to you and they can ask that offline from the session. We'll also be putting dropping helpful information in there along the way. So in other words, keep the chat up. But also, I will end with everyone who signed up. You're going to get a recording. You'll get links for connecting with the companies. You'll be able to look at all their information and ask more questions. So you do not have to furiously write notes. You'll be able to see that. And I think with that, we can get started. Our first company today, we have Jason Simon from 5S Technologies. We'll say I've had a chance. He's a Navy pilot, and I've had a chance to spend the last few days with Jason in New York with the program that we're doing with Bunker Labs and learn a lot more about this company. I think you'll be pretty excited to hear. It's pretty eye-opening about how they're trying to change a technology that I didn't even know was broken. So I'll turn it over to you, Jason. You can tell everybody more.
Jake, I appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to everybody watching. I'd like everybody to imagine for a moment that their job requires them to travel greater than 50% of the year. And that somebody in your company is scheduling that travel, not based on when you can travel, but based on when the company needs you to travel. This necessarily means you're probably going to miss out on some important family events, things you want to be home for. You can request to not travel during those periods, but short of putting in for vacation time or sick leave, you'll most likely be on the road. Now, even when those times do marry up, you have the opportunity to potentially be back home for that event. There's a high likelihood once you get to the airport, as soon as you start the first leg of your journey, you're going to receive a call from work. Your schedule's been changed, you've been extended, and you're going to miss that important event again, another year. Now, the company understands that this impacts your quality of life negatively. And so they wrote a contract that you signed stating that when these things happen, they'll compensate you for your time. But here's the catch. It requires you understanding the legalese of the contract. You have to also know that the schedule change was an infringement on the contract, and then you're required to contact the company to let them know that the contract was infringed upon and you're owed compensation, because their systems don't actually track that automatically. Welcome to the world of being an airline pilot, where tens of thousands of pilots in the United States go through this every day. A majority of the pilots don't understand the legalese in the contract that's signed on their behalf by the union. Further, they don't necessarily understand when the contract's been infringed upon, and even when they figure it out, they're required to call and leave a voicemail with the company or send an email to the union. This is where ACE comes in. ACE is a mobile and web-based application that identifies, validates, and communicates these contract infringements to the union and to the pilot. We ingest the pilot working agreement, which is their contract, union data, and open source Bureau of Transportation data. Combine that with our algorithms, we can automatically detect when these violations and infringements occur, report them to the union. We enable the pilots to succinctly and effectively communicate with the union and generate their own reports. We attach all of the relevant documentation and supporting documents for the union staff and volunteers, and provide a single click of the button to submit these reports and translate those reports into the company's preferred data method. ACE, mobile app, and web app talk together effectively and efficiently. We've brought voicemail and email into the 21st century. Pilots can track how many reports are generated, how much compensation has been paid out, and they can effectively communicate this to the union, and staff have an intuitive and easy to use web-based application to compile all of the supporting documents and send those to the airlines. While there are other programs out there that pilot unions utilize for this, most often than not, they are either outsourced overseas for a single build that's only a web application or only a mobile application, or they're built by airline pilots themselves who are IT hobbyists, not professionals. Delta Airlines brought us on several years ago because they saw the value in data analytics, ingesting big data, and turning that into something that pilots could utilize. And as a result, we've helped increase pay recovery efficiency for the Delta pilots using union by 21%. We've increased the amount of money they recover for pilots from $3 million a year to $10 million a year. And in the last 2 years of operations, we've recovered over $20 million for pilots at Delta. Not only that, but our data analytics helped the Delta Pilots Union negotiate a $7 billion pay increase over 4 years for the pilots. It seems kind of crazy that the airlines don't have the same resources at their disposal, but the data is too large and they don't understand it. So our business model is a business-to-business subscription-based model. And with 16,500 pilots at Delta, we're looking to generate $1.6 million in revenue this year. We're not just a pilot-based program. We can also do this for flight attendants. So you took the big three airlines, top three airlines in the United States, and combine them together with pilots and flight attendants. That's 122,000 subscribers each year. Now, I mentioned that the Delta Pilots Union has brought us on board. But what's interesting is Delta Airlines themselves has contacted us, and we're about to release a 3-month project with them where they will have the web-based platform in order to generate more efficiency and more effectiveness in paying the pilots based on these contract issues. And so if we take a look at pilots and flight attendants across the board, the entire addressable market, and we look at the unions and the airlines as a customer base, we're looking to bring in $21 million in revenue with the US airline industry. Now, why would the airlines want to outsource all of this? Certainly they're big platforms. They can pay for this themselves. And it's true. Last year, they spent $37 billion upgrading their IT and their data sources because they themselves have run into issues. But a majority of that money is being spent on customers and the operations side of the airlines. Very little is being spent on the employee-facing side of the house. In fact, one airline is only upgrading phone lines and adding more phone lines for pilots to call. It seems kind of silly. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said in an address to his employees that he wants an employee-facing app that's on par, if not better than, their customer-facing product to increase communication efficiency and effectiveness and help pilots and flight attendants understand where they need to go on a daily basis. We have that product now. ACE isn't just a recovery tool for pay. We can also more effectively generate schedules. We can communicate efficiently with crew, and we can provide the data analytics airlines need to help improve efficiency and reduce cost. So we're looking to generate a capital raise of $600,000 starting at the end of January for a 5% equity in 5S Technology. This capital raise, in conjunction with the contract renewal in April, will help us scale our personnel and scale our cloud architecture to complete our enterprisable software and bring it to the next 2 airlines in 2024. At 5S Technology, we're looking to empower every worker, and it's not just in the airline industry. We're looking for investors who are willing to join us, help empower workers in every industry in the United States and globally. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. So we'll put his contact info in the chat, and again, his deal tie will go live as well if you're interested in connecting with them. All right, next we will move on to James Eder from Citizens Education. So James is a Marine pilot, but some of you are probably more likely to know James as the founder of American Military University. You probably know someone, and maybe even yourself are a graduate of American University. He has a follow-on company still in that education space, and I think you'll be pretty excited to hear about what he has to talk about. So James, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Jim Eder, founder of American Military University, and also currently the CEO of Citizens High School. A little bit about the company itself is that Citizens High School, founded in 1982, accredited in 85, but we are now fully accredited just like any other public high school across the United States. And so we have about 8,000 graduates that we've done so far, and our active student count now is about 2,500, and we're growing at about 100 to 150 students per year. Last year, our revenue was $2.2 million. We project in 2024 to be at $10 million. For some reason, this isn't going that way. Strategic focus. Most of our focus in the future is on value innovation. I learned that from American Military University. When I looked around as an officer, I saw thousands of military officers studying their military profession but not getting any academic credit. So I just put an academic credit wrap around that and opened American Military University. Pretty successful. Now it's about 100,000 students, and tuition assistance revenue alone is about 90 million. So the lesson I learned from that was finding new markets through value innovation. That's the key. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to do with Citizens High School. So I'm going to talk about 2 things today, just two of it, both of them in the military, 2 innovations. One is military recruitment, non-high school graduates. We've built a bridge program from high school graduation to military. Now, I think everybody knows that the military is having a pretty hard time with recruiting. So in the last year, they were total, all the services around 40,000 students or recruits short. So I just looked around and said, is there another pool that they can fish in so to get the recruits? And I looked at the non-high school graduates, because public school systems, dropouts are about 800 to 1 million every year. So there's a pretty good sized pool out there. And these people aren't looking for a second chance at Algebra 1. They're looking for a second chance. That's what they're looking for. So I looked at the recruiters, and I found that there's about 4,000 recruiting stations out there. Each of them get about 2 to 7 calls per month. And the same type of thing is that, hey, I like to join the military, but I don't have a high school diploma. Can I get in? And the answer is, no, not really. We have a small little group that we allow in there, but that's it. So brought some innovation to that with the bridge program. Revenue projections about 2 to 4 million. and value innovations, for the student and for the military are there. And the bigger thing is the other draw is that the military bonus system when they come in and all the benefits that go with that. So the other innovation that we're bringing is that this summer in June, we're going to launch the Armed Forces Community College, and we're partnering with Valley Forge Military Academy and College. And basically, every high school kid that comes into the military, they go through high school and they go through boot camp, but they don't get to their post-secondary education opportunity until about 9 months into their service. So I said, well, there's got to be a big opportunity to give people some credit while they're in high school. And then the American Council of Education, for every MOS, gives a certain amount of credit. So in theory, but in reality, by the time they get past their to their first duty station, they're starting to earn about half of their AA degree, and you finish the rest off with the Armed Forces Community College. Size of the market: 150,000 students come in every year, and we automatically accept them into the Armed Forces Community College. We think about 20% of them will be active with us, which is about 30,000. The revenue from that, year one is going to be about 30 million. Year two looks like about 60 million. And remember, the first year there's 33,000. They stay with us for 3 years, and so every year after that there's 33,000. So at the end of 4 years, we think we're going to have around $200 million program just in this one thing. Additional value innovations that we do. We have a revenue recurring stream in our core. We're a Job Corps provider. We're international, charter school, and organic. Brings in a certain amount of revenue every year. Last year we brought in $2.2 million, and then 2024, 3.1 and 2.5. That's just from the recurring revenue stream. The value innovations that we're looking at in the future, besides the military two that I briefed, are school choice and homeschool. I won't talk about the specifics, but they're just as innovation and going to the non-customer. That is, there's lots of customers out there, non-customers, but you got to figure out how to make them customers. And we do that through value innovation. Great experience education and e-learning team. I can't talk enough about that. I bring a lot of innovation to the table, but I have a team that's just awesome about helping me with that innovation, making sure it's right, and then executing the heck out of it. And that's the key. That's the experience education learning team that we have in place, and it's awesome. How we're going to use the funds: we're looking for 1.5 million, and I put 3 broad categories: value innovation, blitz scaling, and operational reserves. The value innovation I talked about, but the blitz scaling is once you get the value, you've got to be able to scale it to get maximum growth. So we do that through a thing called rapid education design. That is, I think of what you want to do, and then you pilot it really quickly, and then make sure it works, and then get it to the mass market. That's what the blitz scaling is about. So that's the use of the funds of the 1.5, and then I reserved 500,000. Basically, for the main thing is to reinforce any type of success that we have. So why would you want to invest with us? Strong management team. My background: I've been very successful with American Military University. But the strategic focus that I try to bring is value innovation. I'm not much at competing with things. I like to not compete. So where is the value innovation that you can go into the market and not compete? And then the other reason is that there's a significant upside growth for foreseeable future. And also, what I'm trying to do is some powerful social impacts. I also have a theme. I don't bet the farm. I just bet the garden. So I try to do a little bit of innovation, get it out there, and then get the garden going, and then bring it out quickly. So I don't bet the farm, I just bet the garden. Investment opportunity is, again, 1.5 million. And we're looking to do that $25,000 minimum investment. And I hope that there'll be several people out there that would like to talk after this. So thank you very much for your time and attention. And I appreciate your attention and everything. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jim. And I hope you do take him up on that offer. I mean, we had a conversation. This is just a small part, and Jim has the background and that team to do some amazing things. I know I use programs when, I earned a degree when I was a couple hundred feet under the water on the sub. So it's really neat that we're doing programs like this that are out there. So talk to him about it and see what it is and see if it's something that you're interested in. All right, our next person as we come up is we have Michael Mandarino, and he's presenting MDS Energy Development. And he has a couple of guys there from the team. So Michael's our West Point grad here, and you've seen him a few times, and he's part of the 10X Vets network as well. But I will turn it over to you, Michael, and your presentation on MDS Energy.
Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, my name again is Michael Mandarino. I'm a financial advisor, been one since 2002. My firm is 123 Investing LLC. Again, 1996 graduate U.S. Military Academy, go Army, beat Navy. My broker dealer, I'm a registered investment advisor with GA Repple. We're out of Castleberry, Florida. And we do not have an affiliation directly with MDS Shell Development we're going to be discussing. We are paid commissions. And also with the private placements we offer, one thing that does set us aside is we do use a strict underwriting third-party due diligence prior to any of our offerings. So next slide, please. This is our disclosure slide. Please take a moment, read this disclosure, whether pause the video if you're watching later. Again, this education for professional purposes only. It's for accredited investors. And with any investment, there are risks involved with these risks that are explained in detail in the private placement memorandum, which you can see, be able to click on it in the link that's shared, and also in the Localvest deal towel. The slide deck and private placement will also be available upon request. Past performance is not guaranteed of future results. Investments in natural gas is very speculative. It's very illiquid and involves a high degree of risk. I don't provide tax advice or legal advice as well. If you go to the next slide, this is just a quick definition for those that don't know. I'm sure everyone on this call knows accredited investors, but for those watching later. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Zach Avi, who's the Executive Vice President of Investments with MDS Energy. Zach and I have been working together ways, and I'm actually in the same state. I'm actually at home for the Steeler game for tonight. So Zach, without further ado, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Michael, for that introduction. It's good to have you home. Hopefully you can bring a Steelers win tonight for us. Yeah, Michael actually had the opportunity on another trip back home here to go out and see the wells and kick the tire and do some due diligence firsthand. So happy to be presenting this to you guys. Like Michael said, I'm in Pittsburgh. We're part of a family office that originated here in the 1940s. Started drilling natural gas wells in the 1970s, eventually accumulated the largest land position, privately held land position in the Marcellus Shale, which is sort of the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, about a mile under our feet in Western Pennsylvania. The family is offering people to joint venture alongside them in these offerings. The family will put in anywhere from $50 to $100 million of their own private capital into the funds every year, and then we'll allow outside investors to participate alongside them. Last year, we raised $200 million from outside investors. The family put in 100, translated to around 50 new developmental wells. That interest was split amongst all of them for our investors. But the unique thing about these funds is the way that we allow the tax deductions to pass through to our investors, as well as the income stream from the sale of natural gas. So just to go over the tax deductions first. So the biggest one that you receive from these types of offerings is the intangible drilling cost deduction. This is specifically Section 263C in the Internal Revenue Code. It was put in place in 1913, and it was designed to spur investment in domestic oil and natural gas production to make us energy independent. Well, it's done just that, as we are energy independent and we're a net exporter of most petroleum products. But essentially, this allows for any of the well costs that are deemed to be intangible or not have any salvage value to be immediately expensed the year you make the investment. So our offering is open now. It'll shut down the last business day of this year, so 12/29. So it is a little bit of a short time frame, but if you make the investment now, around 70 to 75% of your initial investment will be taken as an above the line deduction against any type of income. Capital gains, W-2, 1099, what have you. This lowers your adjusted gross income and ultimately saves our clients usually anywhere from 30 to 40 cents on every dollar that they invest with us is what they're saving in federal and state taxes. So we have an example of somebody making $500,000 per year, doing nothing to mitigate their taxable income situation. They'll pay over $240,000 in federal and state taxes. That same client with a $100,000 investment in an MDS partnership will create a $75,000 above the line tax deduction. This will lower their adjusted gross income now down to $425,000 and ultimately save them almost $37,000 in federal and state taxes. Another way to look at that is you get 37% of your investment back just for filing your taxes. This deduction all comes through a Schedule K-1 that's issued in March of next year. We have third-party CPAs and instructions to coach anyone up how to apply this deduction to your 1040. So that's what happens in year one. In year two, there's a smaller deduction for depreciation. That's around 12%. So by year two, this is almost 90% deductible, 75% in year one, 12% in year two. Another tax benefit associated with this is any of the income that we send back to you comes with a 15% depletion allowance. So you're only ever paying tax on 85 cents on every dollar that we send back to you in distributions. So nice tax preferred income stream alongside it. And just to go over the time frame here. So we're offering the investment right now. We'll close the end of the year. If you make the investment this year, you'll get a 70 to 75% deduction. That'll go against taxes due on the 2023 income. We'll then take all the capital we raised, deploy it alongside the Snyder family capital contribution, drill as many new developmental wells as we can. We'll have the first production from those wells probably sometime in the spring or summer of next year. We'll probably have our first distributions 3 to 4 months thereafter. So call it summer, fall, Q2, Q3 of 2024. And you'll also get the depreciation deduction of 12% in 2024. And distributions continue monthly. And what we've seen from these partnerships, once all the wells are up and running, is typically we're making distributions ranging from 1% to 3% per month. Call it ballpark 20% per year. But at that rate, we can make a cash-on-cash return to our clients in roughly 5 years. And the wells can last at economic levels for up to 35 to 50 years, slowly depleting over time. But a nice way to look at it is you're buying cash flow with a nice tax caveat alongside it. So I think that's about all the time we have here, Michael. Am I right?
Yeah, thanks a lot for everyone. And please reach out. Love to talk to you in more depth for those that are interested. Go Army, beat Navy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot there. And a way to reach out there, and you can see the contact information for reaching out to the team there. And of course, we've got our last presentation here. We have Ron LaSorsa from Victory Litigation Fund. Ron is a Marine. Some of you know Ron, all ready to go through, and the energy he's bringing to the Camp Lejeune toxic water, which has been all over the news, and it's really picking up here in the in the fourth quarter, and some things have been developing. So Ron, I will turn it over to you on what you have for Victory Litigation.
Thank you, Jake. Hold on one second as I go through. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, Jake, thank you for that introduction. And I appreciate everybody attending today's event. And with all due respect to my fellow presenters, what I'm about to show everyone is, in my opinion, the most profitable and, more importantly, the most altruistic project any of us will be involved in. And that's specifically, as Jake said, around the Camp Lejeune water contamination lawsuit, which is really the first litigation in a series of litigations that will deal with toxic exposure for the veterans who served over the last 20 years in the global war on terror. These are veterans who had their healthcare benefits expanded under the PACT Act, but only the veterans who had been stationed at Camp Lejeune were given the right to sue. So it's just the tip of the spear. So really what this project is meant to do is address the most critical needs of our community, which, as veterans, we know we're under attack. We've all heard the statistics, 22 daily suicides, although I've seen recent reports that that's creeping up. 30% of veterans can't receive treatment for PTSD. 30% of veterans have a disability after their tour of duty, and many of our veterans are struggling with food insecurity and homelessness. And, you know, again, I'm preaching to the choir here, but thank you for your service is just not enough anymore, right? And there are many, many organizations that are out there trying to raise money for veterans by asking for donations. But this is a unique opportunity for us to go out and take that money in a straight up competition. So what am I talking about? My proposed solution: veterans versus lawyers in a battle for the Camp Lejeune Legal Awards. So this is a complicated topic, and I only have a limited amount of time. So I encourage those who really want to look under the hood to get on my calendar. I'm happy to walk through. We just updated the pro forma to validate the numbers, and the numbers are compelling. And I encourage anybody who truly wants to write a sizable check to get on my calendar, and we'll walk through the numbers and you'll see for yourself. But broadly speaking, this litigation has $6 billion of taxpayer money set aside. It has been approved by law. And right now, Congress is pressing the Department of the Navy to start settling claims. All right. The legal fees associated with this tort are going to be between 20 and 40%. So that means between 1.2 and 2.4 billion dollars is going to be set aside of taxpayer money that would otherwise go to hedge funds and predatory lawyers, right? Who are trying to charge 40 to 50% of the legal fees. All right. My solution is a straight up competition with those predatory lawyers to take that money from them. Think of it as a raid on a soft target, right? We recapture that money and then we put that money back into the veteran community. All right. So again, litigation finance is very complicated, and the numbers, the returns on our investments are extremely lucrative. So much so that there's cognitive dissonance where, you know, as Jake said, I've been to Localvest before. I successfully raised $1 million, but only from 3 investors who more believed in the fight than they did in the returns. However, I can now validate the returns that I'm talking about. So what am I saying? Traction as of December 1st. So the litigation was passed about 1.5 years ago, but on September 6th, the Justice Department and the Department of the Navy announced what's referred to as an elective option, which is an accelerated program for a limited number of diseases. So it's a 10-page document that lays out the ground rules. So now there's no qualitative difference between the most successful law firms and what the perceived value of the law firm, a veteran-run law firm could be. So even playing field, all right? Then on October 19th, I entered into a relationship, a strategic joint venture with Homefront Law, which is a law firm run by a Naval Academy graduate, Chris Chaplak, Navy JAG. And think of the combined partnership of Victory Litigation and Homefront Law as a USAA of law firms, of nationwide law firms, right? Then on November 13th, the elective option was validated. The Navy paid out its first 3 claims for a total of $850,000, or roughly a little under $300,000 per claim. So it's law. They enacted the elective option, and now the elective option is paying, right? So that mitigates a significant amount of risk. And then most recently, I was able to secure the brand, the toll-free number, 1-800-VETERAN, and then the website, 1-800-VETERAN.com. So we have secure branding in this marketplace in a litigation that's going to disproportionately affect veterans over the next decade. So product market fit in terms of our ability to capture this money. So how are we going to do this? Again, complicated topic. This is using a security token. I know, outside of the box, tip of the spear, but a security token is nothing more than a liquid digital representation of a real world asset. And in this case, that real world asset is a legal claim, right? Which is backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. So don't get wrapped around the axle with regard to the security token. It's merely a rev share in the legal claim. And that rev share is for every $1 that I receive in investment, I will pay $10, right, in total return. Now, it takes several investment cycles to do that. So it's not one bite of the apple, but I can absolutely return 10x using those legal fees. Now, again, complicated topic, but what I've done is through a Reg D and a Reg CF is I'm able to price this token at a very low initial buy-in. I really wanted to price it where it was more like a scratch-off ticket, where you were betting more on the competitive benefit of our business model versus the predatory lawyers that are trying to take advantage of veterans. So for unaccredited investors, we priced it at $100 minimum investment, and for accredited investors, $1,000. So really, what you're doing is you're placing a bet on veterans versus lawyers. Use of proceeds, 80 cents on every dollar goes into marketing to retain clients and to sell tokens. So there's a tremendous tooth to tail ratio here in terms of the amount of money that we deploy into operations. Think of this as synthetic equity in a plaintiff's contingency law firm, right? As opposed to an investment in a venture fund. So how did I come up with this structure? I've been in this space for a while, and honestly, I am a unicorn in the Camp Lejeune water contamination. I'm a class of 1989 Naval Academy graduate. I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. I'm a Marine Corps infantry officer, Desert Storm combat veteran. My family was personally affected by the Camp Lejeune water contamination. I have over 30 years of experience across multiple business sectors. I spent about over a decade on Wall Street. So that's how I've come up with this security token concept. I've been involved in litigation finance for even longer than that. Had a $40 million exit as a non-attorney in a DC law firm. I've generated over $500 million in legal fees for some very wealthy individuals. And now what I'm doing is I'm working with Congress, the House Oversight Committee, to provide transparency in third-party litigation finance as an SEC whistleblower. So I'm really doing work on behalf of veterans and taxpayers with this business model. And to that end, right, as I said, the most altruistic project any of us is ever working on, it's a concept referred to as strategic philanthropy, where we align a business model with a social cause. And in this, it's the veteran community's most pressing issues: food insecurity and homelessness, PTSD healthcare, toxic exposure treatment, right? And then the concept of this community where veterans are amongst veterans. So we take care of each other. But what I'm trying to do is establish an ethical high watermark in a very, very competitive and unscrupulous industry, and then donate 50% of my net profits into the cause, hopefully to encourage other law firms to do the same. So not only will the veteran community benefit from the profitability of this project, but hopefully we incentivize the law firms, the other lawyers that want to represent the veterans themselves, to also give back to the community, right? So leadership by example. So that's my pitch, guys. This is a topic very near and dear to my heart. It's something, as I said, both my sons were born with neurobehavioral effects after my service at Camp Lejeune, and my youngest son passed away in 2016. So, this isn't a business model. This is a battle plan to make a difference. I encourage anyone who wants to join me on this fight, in this fight, get on my calendar and let's talk about how we can work together.
All right. Thank you, Ron. I think it's a good statement for all of these to go. We've talked about pilot unions, education, oil and gas with advanced depreciation, litigation finance that has to do with military aspects here, there's a lot of complex stories in here. I encourage you to go like, well, I don't know how that works. Reach out. That is the whole point of our platform here at Localvest, is to connect you. And if you like what you hear, you take the conversation on further and decide about making an investment. That's what it's all about. So I thank all four of the companies that came in and they presented. I hope you learned something today and you want to continue that education for yourself. All right, Laura, if you can Laura or Martha present the screen in here. I know we had a couple things in here. I've been working on keeping track of how many people presented this year and from which branches that we were in. So amazingly enough, well, you know, as we go through, maybe it's our bias in here, but we had a lot of Marine and Navy representation. I split them out separately to go through, but really we were pretty even as it goes across, just eked out in here to have Navy and Marine Corps had the two of them together to go. But honestly, this is pretty good. I saw my first Space Force person 2 days ago. So they're out there going, and it was at an entrepreneurs event. So I'm hoping we get some Space Force in here and add some more of the Coast Guard ones in there as well. I will also let you know the poll that we had at the beginning, for those of you answered to go through, I am proud to report that Navy was pretty high on that one, about a 3-to-1 is what the results were doing. I hope that is reflected the score tomorrow, but I will be the first one to admit for all the West Pointers that I think tomorrow or Saturday may be a little rough on our side, but we'll see. You never know. You got to fight all the way through. So we'll see how that one ends up going. So for all of you, I'm glad you were able to come in today. I hope you have a chance to reach out, learn about more of the companies, and look at any other new ones that you see when you go onto the platform. Follow us, see, we'll share more that you have. So if we don't talk to you before then, have a great holiday season that comes up here in December. And as always, go Navy, beat Army.